Good day everyone, today's topic is narratives or stories. So today we are going to talk about how narratives can be written in academic style or how can we include them, how to write narrative, how to make them more interesting to our readers. So here we go. A narrative can be written in the first or the third person and describes a series of events, either imaginary or based on your own experience. A good narrative should consist of introduction, which you set the scene, people involved, time, place, in an interesting way to catch the reader's attention and make him or her want to continue reading your story. A main body, consisting of 2 or more paragraphs in which you develop your story, and of course third one is conclusion, in which you can refer to people's feeling, comments and reactions or consequences. The more unpredictable your conclusion is, the longer lasting the impression it will make on the reader. This type of writing can be found in novels, articles, witness statements and etc. Okay, we have seen what parts narratives can include above, and now we have some points to consider to develop or to make our narratives more interesting and alive. So here we go. Okay, first things first. You should never start writing your story before you have decided on a plot. Sequence of events is very important. Use time words such as at first, before, until, while, during, then, after, finally, and etc. And also, you should use various of adjectives and adverbs to describe feelings and actions, as well as use of direct speech and a variety of verbs will make your story more exciting to read. Be careful with tenses you choose. You can use past continuous to set the scene. For example, it was raining hard and the wind was blowing as Jonathan drove towards a small cottage. And past simple to describe the main events of the story. For example, Jonathan opened the garden gate and went through the garden towards the front door. He knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Or past perfect to give the background of the story. For example, Jonathan had been planning to visit the old cottage for months before he was able to do so. Present and past participles can also be used. For example, startled, he went around the house towards the back door. Descriptions of people, places, objects, or events and descriptive techniques can be used in a narrative when you want to emphasize specific parts of your narration. For example, you can describe that place. For example, that house was not very big. It was small and it covered with dirt and a kind of plant that I don't remember the names, like this. Okay, you have seen the structure of narratives, how to be written in a correct way and how to be developed in a detailed way. Here we can see a model narrative text passage. So the title is Sleep Tight Scotty. Sleep tight, Scotty, his mother said as he kissed him goodnight and turned off the light. As soon as he had closed the door behind her, Scott was fast asleep. He was completely exhausted after spending the whole afternoon assembling his new train set and then watching it go around the tracks and through the tunnels. Suddenly the ball of brilliant yellow light shot past the window. Scott woke with start when the ball entered his room. The light was so bright that he had to shut his eyes. When he when he opened them, he saw a strange little man, about a foot tall, with orange skin and huge blue eyes. Scott, not the least bit frightened, said in a friendly voice, "Hello, I'm Scott. Who are you?" The miniature man said nothing, but picked up a battery from the untidy heap of toys on the floor. He started running around the room, pointing urgently at the rest of Scotty's toys. "What do you want?" asked Scott, who was puzzled. The man began shaking the battery frantically, and Scott realized that was what he wanted. Scott opened all his toys, took out the batteries, and piled them on the floor. Immediately gathering up all the batteries, the little man leaped into the window sill, smiled warmly at Scott, and disappeared. When Scott woke up the next morning, he thought about his unusual dream. He stared at his train set before jumping out of the bed and trying to switch it on. Nothing happened. Then Scott realized that it had no batteries, and there were no batteries in any of his other toys either. Okay, so now we can highlight the parts of the narratives we discussed earlier. For example, from Sleep Tight Scotty until the light was so bright, this part of the narrative is called setting the scene. And the next part, starting with when he opened them and ending with who was puzzled, it was the main body and called development part, and describe incidents leading up to the main event and the event itself in detail. And also the second paragraph of the main body also continues this details and sequence of the event. And of course the last one, when Scott woke up the next morning, and ending with and there were no batteries in any of his other toys either. It is conclusion and final paragraph. It's called the end of story. So here you can see the how narratives or stories can be divided into parts. Every narrative, every story has techniques to begin and end. So here I'm giving you some hints, some tips to begin your story and how to end it perfectly exciting. A good beginning is as important as a good ending. A good beginning should make your reader want to go on with your story. A good ending will make your reader feel satisfied. Here's some tips how to begin your story. First one, describing weather, surroundings, people, etc. using senses. For example, yesterday I have visited my friend's house, and when I opened the door, I smelled an odor of soup, which was being prepared by his mother. Like this. Second one, using direct speech. "Run, we don't have much time," Jake shouted as we raced towards the old house. Asking rhetorical question. Have you ever had feeling that someone was watching you even when no one was there? 4. Creating mystery or suspense. Something wasn't right. The front door was open, but I was sure I had locked it before leaving. 5. Referring to your feelings or moods. My heart was pounding. I had a bad feeling about this, but it was too late to turn back now. 6. Addressing the reader directly. You might think this relax, this is just another story, but I promise every word is true. And also, I'm giving you some hints how to end your stories creatively. Here we go. First, using direct speech. I told you we'd make it, Sam said with a grin. But next time, let's not take a shortcut through the haunted forest. Second, referring to your feelings or moods. Relief washed over me as I stepped outside. The nightmare was finally over, but I knew I would never forget what had happened. Third, describing people's reactions to the events developed in the main body. Everyone stood in silence, their faces pale with shock. No one could believe that they had just seen. 4. Creating mystery or suspense. As I turned to leave, I noticed something strange, a small note on the ground. It simply read, "This isn't over." Fifth, asking rhetorical question. Did I really escape that night, or was it just beginning of something even more terrifying? By using these techniques, your narrative will be astonishing and very alive to keep your readers focused and interested in your narratives and stories. When finishing my short lesson and quick tips for your narratives, I would like to say one thing. Do not be afraid to write any kind of narratives. At first, maybe you make a lot of mistakes and it's okay. Don't worry making a lot of mistakes. You will learn by making mistakes. That's why just begin to write. Always write, always make mistakes, always review it, always I can help you to check it out and make some corrections to your errors. So see you next our lessons. Bye.